Hey there, my name is Cole Adams, and you are watching the best college basketball podcast out there that covers the entire sport of college basketball, brackets, bubbles, and bid stealers. Now, here are your hosts, Sam Fetterman and Jonathan Lidskin.
Season 6, episode 10 of 9 of Brackets, Bubbles, and Bid Stealers. I am Sam Fetterman. That is Jonathan Lidskin. Jonathan, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great, Sam. Ready to talk some Duke here. Another very exciting season for me of Duke basketball ahead.
Jonathan, would you like to introduce our guest?
Yeah, Jordan Mann joining us today. J-Man Takes on Twitter. He does a ton of great Duke content, X's and O's, just breaking stuff down. If you guys haven't seen him, he is like my guy that I go to for watching Duke stuff. I've found that a lot of the fan base is, hard to interact with at times, especially after losses. But Jordan is usually pretty good and keeps it real.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me. Those losses, the Houston loss, especially the last loss, being there in person, that was a very tough pill to swallow, and probably the hardest film breakdown I had to do after that game. I had to take a couple of days to really, look over life and really ask if it was worth it. But no, it's been a great year. It was a great year, and I'm very excited to be on here with you guys.
Yeah, should be a really good season for Duke, as it was last year. But first and foremost, thank you to CJ Weeps for making the new logo for Tip Off Talk that you can see on your screen in a bunch of places, top corner next to Jonathan, and as well as making this background that fits us so well for our previews. I told him, make sure that you make it so it works with a 3-man podcast, and that's what we've been doing for these previews, and that's what we'll continue to do. We'll have Ryan Hammer on in a moment, but we do actually have to talk about Duke. We can't make these intros as long as we usually do for the typical pods because, well, we just don't have as much time to do these pods. So Duke comes into this coming season, loses a lot of the key contributors from last season, if not all of the key contributors. But returns a bunch of pieces that were younger and developing, and now brings in, once again, one of the best freshman classes in the country. The place that you have to start with this Duke team is Cam Boozer, Jonathan.
Yeah, Cam Boozer, and obviously we'll get to his brother Caden too. Dad played at Duke. Everyone knows that. But what's really special about Cam is just how efficient he was in all facets of the game in high school. Sam, you texted me surprised, when you found out how well he shot from three in EYBL Scholastic last year. He does pretty much everything well. I mean, has a really well-built college body, and he can shoot it from the outside. He can take you low post. He's great defensively. He can switch a little bit. There's really no weakness to his game. And you can't really compare him to the prospect that Duke just had in Cooper Flagg, but this is in Cam Boozer, another complete game changer at the college level.
Every time I watch Cam Boozer or watch Columbus or Knight Riders, or watch any other player against Columbus or Knight Riders, I know that Cam Boozer is going to win. I just know it's going to happen. He's going to be better. He's going to dominate. He's going to shut them down. He is going to score on them inside and out, and he's just going to make it look easy. Cole Pete doesn't matter. DeBonsta, he'll cook him. He'll cook everybody on the floor. Tyron Stokes, he'll cook him. Cam Boozer, it doesn't matter who you are. Cam Boozer is gonna beat you. He beat everybody in his class. He beat Cooper Flagg. He beats everyone. Yes, he had a really darn good team. His brother was good. Caleb Gaskins is pretty good. Jackson Richardson is awesome. But Boozer was the best player on that team for a reason. And there were a lot of things that Cam Boozer does that he just wins. He's just better than you.
Yeah, I mean, look, Cam Boozer, he's really good, and he fits what Duke wants to do to a T. He's going to be very good.
He could fit every single team in the country if you wanted him to.
Yeah. I mean, he is, the intangibles he has is crazy. There really isn't. it's hard to say there's a drop off between Cooper Flagg and then Cam Boozer. Cam Boozer provides a different element to Cooper Flagg, but it's still a superior element to the game. He reminds me a little bit of Paulo Banchero. I'm not going to say he is Paulo 2.0 because everybody's one of one, and he just does similarities with the way he can put the ball on the floor with his size and what Paulo did at Duke, to where I think Cam Boozer, him at the 4 for Duke, is going to be exciting because he can step outside, and like you said, Jonathan, his 3-point ability is there, and I think he's going to do very well in all assets of the game for Duke.
Yeah, 2 years in a row shooting 40% from 3 on decent volume for Columbus. Won Peach Jam 2 years in a row for Knight Riders. Won the Chipotle Nationals for Columbus this year. Probably had 50-40-90, or if not close, 50-40-80. It just seems like he plays, I don't want to say perfect basketball, but like if you remember, like it just doesn't feel like anything is a risk to him. It just feels like every decision that he makes is super calculated and super easy for him to accomplish. And it's not like he's not going up there and doing crazy things. He catches lobs, he blocks shots. So he takes risks. They just don't look risky.
Yeah, I mean, he is going to be Duke's number 1 guy that they're going to go rely on. And it's just the question with Duke this year is the point guard position. Like his brother Caden's coming in, and obviously Caleb Foster, who he had a very up and down year last year. And so he has a bigger role this upcoming season and needs to fill that role because the point guard position is the one that's the most vulnerable right now if you look at Duke on paper. But with Caden Boozer coming in, hopefully Caleb Foster year 3, that will be somewhere that Duke needs to really have production this season.
All right, so the 2 Duke fans on this show, Jonathan and Jordan, I'm going to ask you guys a question.
Okay.
If Duke hits its ceiling, its second best player will be?
Jonathan, I'll let you go first.
Nick Kamenia.
I like that.
Okay.
Like I just think, like, watching his tape, he's so smooth and so fluid in everything he does, and like I don't think he's gonna be this like off the charts otherworldly athlete, but like I think that there are some parts of his game that are like very like Con Kneppel-ish, like obviously different player, but like the way they score and how they like just higher basketball IQ than everyone out there.
Yeah.
Jordan?
I like that. I like that pick. I am going to go Dame Sarr. I think Sarr, he is coming in as a wing. And then when I did his player breakdown, I was very impressed with how much he was the ball handler. And I compared him to SGA, Kentucky version of SGA, not MVP in the NBA SGA. But he just has the same exact like he's 6'6", SGA 6'6", and SGA was 180 at Kentucky. Dame Sarr is 180. And I think he is going to have the ball in his hands a lot more than people realize. I think, like I said, with the question marks, that could be the backcourt with what Caden Boozer can bring. Can Caleb Foster be consistent? Dame Sarr brings in a guy that can be a ball handler on top of being a wing. And so I don't know statistically if he'd be the second best player, but I think in terms of like usage rate, I wouldn't be surprised if the ball's in his hands a lot more.
Yeah, like I think with Dame in terms of like impact, like you have such a high floor with him because, you know, he brings in great measurables, like this really good wingspan, and he's already like a polished defender, which is like it's hard to get from a 19-year-old freshman, you know, who hasn't played in the US before. But like he brings you that. Like I don't know, you know, what his ceiling offensively is right now, but I think that if I had to bet on like, oh, who can I promise you will make a really high impact on both ends besides Cam Boozer from this team, like Sarr's probably that guy.
I agree. I think Sarr would be my answer for that question. Then to the flip side, if Duke hits its floor, who is Duke's second best player?
Duke hits the floor. God, Lee, that is the second best player. Oh man, because that's a tough question, Sam. Because that's like a slap in the face if I'm like, hey, Duke's not gonna be good if this guy is the second best player.
Okay, can I say the answer is Isaiah Evans?
Like that was gonna be my answer, but like I don't even think that's like a terrible option.
No, it's not. I mean, the Duke is gonna be a top 15 team no matter what.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it would be Isaiah due to he shoots say he shoots 15 shots a game and he's not efficient from the field. So statistically speaking, he is the second best player, but he's out there shooting, 6 of 15, 6 of 17. He's Caleb Love, but Caleb Love on the cold streak's Caleb Love. So I guess I would say Isaiah. It's more so I think would be like who would be the biggest disappointment, I guess, would be my way. But Isaiah, yeah, that's probably where I'd go.
Yeah, because I think the implication of Isaiah Evans being the second best player on the team is that, hey, Caleb Foster didn't take the leap, so he can't really handle the ball a ton. Dame Sarr isn't quite what we think he's going to be. Kamania is just a freshman, and Gongba is fine. Honestly, I think that scenario, Malik Brown probably ends up as the second best player on the team. So can I change my answer to Malik Brown? Because, and again, I think Malik Brown is amazing. I'm like the number one Malik Brown fan in the country, and I have been for like 3 years now. But like the scenario where Isaiah Evans shoots 41%, plays no defense, and Sarr, Kamania, Foster, Gongba all are a little worse than we thought. Malik Brown's probably a little better than what you get from Evans because of what he does defensively and on the offensive glass. So Malik Brown's my answer for this because we know what he is, and he's incredible. But if he's their second best player, they're probably not getting a ton from that backcourt.
I think that one of the things that people forget about Isaiah Evans is like in high school, and like obviously, like a lot of these guys are the best player on a public high school in North Carolina, no matter how good. Like Isaiah had the ball in his hands a lot, and like if they kind of give him that free reign and he's not as efficient as you want him to be, like there's a world where I think the offense doesn't, reach quite how much it could be. But at the same time, like I think that Isaiah playing a year in the system, like he knows what's expected of him. Like he knows that, if he's open, he's going to shoot the ball. If he's, if he has a little window, he's going to take that shot. It's just like, how much are you letting him just go with the ball in his hands and create?
Yeah, and I guess I will change my answer. I would say Cam Boozer. If he's the second best player on the floor for Duke, then that means he didn't live up to expectations. Yeah. So therefore, okay. Duke did not have a good season. Not saying Duke cannot have a great year with him being the second best player, but for this question, I would say
that's a really good answer that I would not think we have.
Yeah, so that's where I'm gonna spin it on Cam.
Yeah, it hasn't even crossed my mind that like someone else besides Cam Boozer will be the best player on this team.
Right.
No, I haven't thought about that either, like one bit. I do want to talk about the point guard situation. Caden Boozer, Caleb Foster. I know Jonathan loves Caden Boozer. What's the kind of the situations where Caleb has the edge? What are the situations where Caden has the edge, Jonathan?
Well, I think that the edge right now for Caleb is that that he can come in and guard pretty much every ball handler in the country. Like showed that last year. He was kind of buried on the bench in the middle of the season due to so had some stuff going on. Wasn't shooting it quite, just wasn't making like high impact. But then he came in as kind of this like plug and play guy in their more defensive lineups at the end of the season, and he shut down RJ Davis twice, and played key minutes in the end as well. So like I think at this point he's been in the program for what's going to be his third year. He understands what's expected of him, and that he can guard. So that probably gives him the edge right now. But like Caden, I've watched Caden Boozer a lot. I've watched Mikel Brown a lot. I've watched Acuff a lot, and whatever other point guards in this class like you want to throw in there. I think Caden Boozer's the best of them. Like he's just so advanced as a passer, and reading screens for somebody that age. It doesn't seem like he ever makes a bad decision. I don't think he's the world's greatest ball handler, but he's obviously more than good enough, and he already has that chemistry with his brother.
Yeah, Jonathan, I agree with the Caden thing. What's enticing with him is Duke hasn't had like a true point guard facilitator in a while. Like, I mean, you look the last few years, it's just like Jeremy Roach was not a facilitator. He was a scoring guard at 6'1".
Yeah.
Then Tyrese Proctor kind of the same way. And even Caleb Foster. Caleb Foster is probably more comfortable with being off ball. And the facilitating aspect of Caden is something that I like. But then Caleb, you hit the nail on the head. Like the way he guards. I mean, the Houston game is kind of what Caleb. I'm not going to say sums up Caleb. I would say sums up last year for Caleb pretty well. Is he came in, played his tail off, or he guarded Houston. He was getting rebounds when Duke was getting crushed on the offensive glass. He came in and they had 0 offensive rebounds with him on the floor. I think he had 4 or 5 defensive rebounds. But then offensively against Houston, he was 0 for 4, I think, from the field and didn't score. So it's just like he plays his tail off, really good defender, just inconsistent scoring their basketball. But if he can just show some sort of consistency on the offensive side with what he brings defensively, it's a big upgrade for Duke from what Caleb Foster was a year ago.
Yeah, I think I'm definitely agreeing with you on that. And then the position that we haven't talked about at the 5, Patrick Gongba coming back. What steps does he need to take as a sophomore?
I think what Pat Gongba does very well. I mean, he's offensively gifted. I mean, it's when I had Shire on the show, gave him praise about the against Louisville in the AC championship game. Duke went 3 straight possessions in the second half of just feeding Gongba on mismatches on the block and just going at Louisville in the AC championship game. And at the time, I mean, last year Gongba was the 3rd center on the team. He wasn't expected to play all year, and then he had to step into a role, but what he needs to do or improve on is defense, just like on the perimeter. When he's on the perimeter, he's not going to be Colin Malawatch where he's going to be able to guard a shifty number 1 like a Mark Sears. But if he can just be out there and be playable and make guards uncomfortable when he's hedging or switching or whatever showing, that's just a step he needs to take. Offensively, he's there, and defense around the rim he's been pretty good at. And so I just think as a whole, as a defender, he needs some sort of improvement.
Also, do want to talk about Darren Harris and Sebastian Wilkins, the 2 main guys we haven't discussed. Harris coming off of a freshman year where he didn't play a ton, but came back to Duke, didn't have to come back to Duke. A lot of guys like that in that situation didn't play a ton as a freshman, highly recruited, would have entered the portal. Harris stays. Everyone who's listened to this pod for a year knows how much Jonathan and I both love Darren Harris' game. Do we think he's going to get that opportunity this year?
Yeah, for sure. I think Darren Harris, look, he started, or he had minutes over Isaiah to start the year. Like, he was the freshman that Duke chose early in the season, the first few games of the season. Then Isaiah obviously stepped into that role. But Darren is a guy that I'm very high on as well. 3-level scorer, very patient and poised with the ball in his hands. And I think that he has potential to, if he has that confidence, to where he can be an immediate scorer for Duke and probably a better scoring off the dribble guy than Isaiah. Isaiah is obviously elite catch and shoot guy, and that's the area he needs to improve on, is on the dribble, off the dribble. So Darren Harris, I think a guy can step in and be productive for Duke his sophomore year.
Jonathan?
Yeah, for me, like, the crazy thing about Darren was, like, he was the MVP of Peach Jam like 2 years ago, and like, you know, he won a ton of games at Paul VI. And if you go watch him play in high school, like, he was a really good shot creator, really good shooter, and just like Duke was so loaded last year that they just like didn't have minutes for him. Like some of these freshmen, the funny thing about them is like you never like know with them if they're not playing, because you don't know how much better they're getting in practice and over the summer because you haven't seen them playing games. So I think that there's a very real chance that Darren Harris could have been a high contributor on a good team at the end of last year, but you know, we just never saw it because Duke didn't need him. So like, it wouldn't surprise me if Darren was, you know, the 2nd leading scorer for this team.
And then Sebastian Wilkins, who I haven't watched yet. What do people need to know about him?
I mean, he won't play. I don't think he'll be much of an impact guy his freshman year because he's reclassed to move up to fill a slot for Duke that Duke needed on the roster. But I will say, when I watched this film, I was shocked because I thought I was going to see a power forward that, you know, just a normal power forward. And I see a guy that's comfortable with bringing the ball up the floor, leading a fast break, pitching ahead in a fast break, and then his athleticism and shot-making ability. His potential is there to be a guy or to be an impact player for Duke. Not maybe this season, but his sophomore, junior year. I really like his film. I just think he's a guy Duke needed to fill a roster spot, and he is more than capable of being a guy for Duke in the future.
Yeah, I mean, he probably won't play a ton also because Duke's front court has 3 dudes ahead of him and a lot of wings. Jack Scott on that roster, Princeton legend. Well, legend is a little strong for what he was at Princeton, but cool to see that there was a TikTok going around of like he was like how he found out Duke was recruiting him. It was really funny. I'm sure you guys have seen it. Duke's schedule really good. We don't have much time, but what game are you most excited for Duke next year in the non-conference?
I'm gonna be biased. I live in Charlotte, so Duke plays Texas at Spectrum Center. That was like I think November 4th. I'm excited for that one because I will probably be in attendance for that one. So I'm gonna go Duke versus Houston in Charlotte, or Duke versus Texas in Charlotte.
I was gonna say, are they playing Houston?
No, Texas. Sorry if I said Houston the first time. Duke versus Texas.
I'm a little disappointed that the Army game is on a Tuesday. I would so drive down if that was a Friday.
Yeah, that's a fun. That's going to be awesome for Duke to.
Yeah, it's going to be a complete sellout there.
Yeah.
So like for me, like I'm in Chicago, so like I'm gonna go to the Arkansas game, but like I'm so excited for Michigan in February. Like, first of all, like I think it's awesome that Duke is playing that game in, that non-conference game in February is like an annual thing now. Because, like, the ACC is starting to get a little bit better, but, like,
they're taking basketball seriously again.
At the same time, like,
at least at some schools,
even if the teams are good in the conference, like, it's a lot of the same coaches year after year, like, which means, like, same system. You have the same scouts. Like, this gives you an opportunity to, like, see someone new every year that does something different, and obviously the quality of competition with this Michigan team will be tremendous as well.
Yeah, we'll do a Michigan preview at some point. We definitely have the interest to do that. Anything else you want to say, Jonathan, Jordan, before we head out?
No, I appreciate you guys having me.
I just want to say, like, we didn't really talk a whole lot about John as a coach, but I think it's so funny because, like, when something goes, like, wrong with a team, like, it's very easy for a fan base to, like, blame a coach and, like, use the coach as a scapegoat. With Duke, it's kind of been the opposite. Like, every Duke fan, like, loves Shire as a coach, and, like, the fact that
everyone else blames him for
running this program while everyone else thinks he's terrible. Like, it's so weird.
Well, I will say,
Duke fans actually watch the games.
I will say, coming in like this past year, it definitely the narrative has shifted to be a lot more pro John. But like when I started doing my content, the reason I started doing it because so many people or a lot of Duke fans were upset with Shire losing, what Pittsburgh at home and games like that a couple of years ago. And I'm like, relax, like it's not really the X's and O's, it's more so the Jimmy and Joes. So I'm glad that everybody is starting to see that Shire is a really good coach, and I will die on that hill as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jonathan, you want to take us home?
Yeah, if you came to hear about Tyler Self and where he's working, you came to the right place. If you came to hear about Jack Scott getting recruited to Duke and him finding out about it, you came to the right place. And if you came to hear about the latest happenings with Caleb Grill, you came to the right place. This has been Season 6, Episode 9 of Brackets, Bubbles, and Bid Stealers. We'll see you next time.